They thought their home was the safest place in the world, until one ordinary afternoon changed everything. For months, their loyal dog, Buddy, had been inseparable from their baby boy, Noah. He played with him, guarded him, and slept beside his crib every night. But one day, Buddy began acting strangely. He barked at shadows, refused to leave the nursery, and stared endlessly at the garden. At first, the family laughed it off, until their home camera captured something that made their hearts stop cold. What had Buddy been trying to warn them about all this time? What the parents discovered would not only shock the entire neighborhood, but prove that sometimes a dog's instincts are the only thing standing between life and danger. It all began on a quiet spring morning when the family brought home their newborn, Noah. The tiny bundle of joy instantly caught the attention of Buddy, their loyal golden brown dog who had been part of the family for years. At first, Buddy approached the crib cautiously, his tail wagging in small, uncertain movements. Then, as if understanding that this fragile little human was now part of his pack, he laid down beside the crib and refused to leave. That as days passed, something beautiful unfolded. Whenever Noah cried, Buddy would rush over, nuzzling his hand until the tears stopped. When the baby laughed, Buddy wagged his tail so hard it thumped against the floor like a drumbeat. Their bond grew naturally. One couldn't be seen without the other. By the time Noah learned to crawl, the two had become inseparable. Every afternoon, they played together in the sunlit garden, Buddy patiently rolling the ball back toward Noah, who giggled uncontrollably with each throw. The neighbors often stopped to watch, smiling at the sight. It was pure innocence, the kind of friendship that didn't need words. To everyone, Buddy wasn't just a pet anymore. He was Noah's silent guardian, his first best friend, and the heartbeat of the family's happiness. Noah toddled through the grass, clutching his favorite blue ball, while Buddy trotted behind him, his pink collar glinting in the sunlight. Everything seemed perfectly ordinary, until Buddy suddenly froze. His ears perked up, his tail stiffened, and his gaze locked onto the hedge near the back fence. Noah giggled and tossed the ball, but Buddy didn't move. He just stood there, growling softly, as if sensing something invisible. The mother, busy watering her plants, noticed the change. "Buddy? What's wrong, boy?" she asked lightly. Buddy turned his head briefly, eyes filled with an unease she couldn't understand. Then, just as quickly, he relaxed, wagging his tail again, and she laughed it off. "You silly dog," she murmured, returning to her chores. But that night, Buddy's strange behavior returned. He paced restlessly around the nursery, growling at the window, his body tense. Noah was asleep in his crib, and every time the baby stirred, Buddy pressed closer, whining softly. The mother tried to calm him, gently saying, "It's okay, Buddy. Nothing's out there." Still, he refused to leave. Hours passed, and he remained stationed near the window, eyes fixed on the garden below. The mother sighed, shaking her head. "What's gotten into you, boy?" she whispered, unaware that Buddy was sensing something no one else could. The next morning, the father sat at the kitchen table, sipping his coffee when his wife mentioned Buddy's odd behavior. "He wouldn't leave Noah's room all night," she said, rubbing her tired eyes. "It's not like him." Curious, the father decided to check the garden's security camera, mostly to prove there was nothing unusual. He scrolled through the night's footage, fast-forwarding through the quiet hours, until something caught his attention. At exactly 2:17 a.m., Buddy appeared on screen. He was standing in the middle of the garden, staring intently toward the far end near the fence. For a moment, he was completely still, his head tilted as if listening to something. Then, slowly, his body stiffened. He growled low, barely audible through the camera's microphone, and took a few steps forward. The father frowned, replaying the clip twice. "That's strange," he murmured. Buddy wasn't barking at random. He was reacting to something specific. He zoomed in on the dark patch of bushes behind the fence and froze. There was movement. A faint shadow flickered between the leaves, too tall to be an animal, too deliberate to be the wind. He felt a chill run down his spine. "Honey," he called softly, his voice uneasy. "Come look at this." She leaned over his shoulder, and within seconds, the color drained from her face. Something, or someone, had been watching their garden. The couple replayed the footage several times, each time noticing details they had missed before. The way the shadows seemed to move closer night after night. How Buddy's behavior grew more alert with each passing day. What they had dismissed as overprotectiveness now looked like warning signs. The mother's hand trembled as she paused the video. "He knew," she whispered. "Buddy's been trying to tell us something all along." That evening, unease settled heavily over the house. They decided to keep Noah inside and shut the windows early. Still, Buddy refused to relax. He kept pacing near the glass door that led to the garden, his nose twitching as if tracking an invisible scent. When night fell, the father installed an extra camera pointing directly toward the fence. He turned to Buddy and whispered, "Good boy. Let's see what you're guarding." Hours passed. The house was quiet except for the faint hum of the baby monitor. Then, sometime past midnight, Buddy's low growl broke the silence. His ears shot up, eyes locked on the garden once again. The father grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside, his breath visible in the cool night air. Buddy stood ahead of him, body tense, tail straight. The beam of light swept across the grass, then froze. The hedge rustled. Something moved behind it. The sound of hurried footsteps followed. "Hey!" the father shouted, his heart pounding. But by the time he reached the fence, the shadow was gone, vanished into the darkness. The next morning, the police arrived after the couple reported the incident. 2 officers inspected the garden, scanning the fence line carefully. One of them crouched near the bushes and pointed to something faint in the soil, fresh footprints. "Someone's been standing here recently," he said grimly. The father's stomach dropped. Whoever had been outside their home wasn't a passing stranger. That night, determined to uncover the truth, the father reset the cameras and left the porch light off. He sat near the window, watching the live feed on his tablet, Buddy resting quietly beside him. Hours crept by. Then, just after midnight, Buddy's ears perked. His head snapped toward the garden. A low growl rumbled in his chest. Through the grainy night vision, a shape appeared. Human, crouched by the fence, trying to pry it open. The father's blood ran cold. "It's him," he whispered. Before he could move, Buddy bolted through the dog door, barking furiously. The intruder froze, startled. Buddy lunged, circling him but never attacking, just holding him in place, teeth bared in warning. Within minutes, the father and officers stormed outside and restrained the man. When the police searched his bag, they found stolen items from nearby homes. One officer shook his head. "He's been breaking in for weeks." The mother clutched Noah tightly, tears in her eyes. "Buddy knew," she whispered, kneeling beside the loyal dog. "You weren't just protecting us. You were saving us." The following morning, sunlight poured into the garden, washing away the fear that had haunted the night before. Noah sat on the grass, giggling as Buddy gently nudged his toy ball toward him. The same garden that once held danger now felt peaceful again. The family watched from the porch, hearts full of gratitude. The mother smiled through tears. "He's not just our dog," she whispered. "He's our guardian angel." News of Buddy's bravery spread quickly. The police commended his quick instincts, calling him the reason a break-in had been stopped before anyone was harmed. Soon, local reporters arrived, eager to tell the story of the loyal dog who had protected his family. Cameras flashed as Buddy sat proudly beside Noah, calm and composed as ever, his eyes soft but alert. Later that night, as the house grew quiet again, the father scrolled through the final camera footage one last time. There it was, Buddy's steady silhouette standing guard over the crib, his tail flicking softly as he watched the baby sleep. The sight brought a lump to his throat. "You knew before any of us," he murmured. Outside, the garden swayed gently in the breeze. Buddy lay under the stars, his head resting between his paws. Finally at peace. Sometimes, heroes don't wear uniforms or badges. They walk on 4 legs. Love unconditionally and protect without hesitation.